Clara worked since she could walk in her family's restaurant. The family business began with a little cafe and fast food restaurant that, with time and a maybe not very fair competition, became the Eat Cheap chain. She never was more than a waitress. It was a family company, and the family was a huge family. However, in her wide experience, she could develop that skill of being indifferent to the customers' unfounded complaints, and to anticipate the furtive intentions of leaving before pay. Clara got on well with that grey life disguised on yellow. She got on well with the comings and goings with Victor. She got on well with everything. Meanwhile, it all remained into a controlled routine. She, like the rest, had settled down on the indifference, on not having to make the effort of get involved. She arrived at the hut one day not knowing why. She dreamed people since she had the conscience of what dream was, although she only talked about it once with another person, her mother. When she was little, while playing with dolls dressed in red, the mother smiled and persuaded her that it was no more than a film like the ones she saw on TV while the bread with chocolate tea. She believed it. She believed all they said. Moreover, what their parents told her, to whom both her brothers and she had on a pedestal. It was not they were wrong admiring them. Deep down they were good people, as the rest of the city, and perhaps that was the big problem. Her mother also convinced her not to tell it to anybody, because perhaps the other kids couldn't see the same, and could be jealous, and it was better not to arouse nobody's envies. That's exactly why we dress the same, the mother said gently. Clara didn't understand it in that moment. They didn't dress the same. Of course not. She could see her father's trousers were quite different from her auntie's, and her mother's skirts had nothing to do with hers. It wasn't the same. But she was too little to understand what half of indoctrinations her mother's tender words. She had seen the stone houses from far away. During tea parties, she had been there several times in a rush as an initiation ceremony. Never at night. At the nightfall, maybe, but never at night. Her friends, incited by the eldest brother's friends, lied and said they had been there often, spent the whole night, had there their first sexual intercourses, but they hadn't. Of course they hadn't. Clara suspected it, not only by the showing off, but because she didn't think they were so brave. Victor was one of her eldest brother's friends, the one who couldn't look into her eyes and say he was there, the one who told the truth although he didn't want to. But she looked to those stone houses from the distance, and she didn't see the evilness. She didn't see the danger. Once she was near, could see in that little shops colored things through their doors. Not only yellow. She thought it carefully, didn't tell anybody, not even her friends, not her parents, not anybody. She still didn't dare to go at night. She had heard about what happened to those who broke the curfew, without showing off. That was worth believing. She left at the end of her shift and walked without explanations or made a false alibi up. Nobody was going to ask for explanations. Nobody would dare. As she was approaching the streets of stone, there were fewer people and more silence. Just a racket in an echo. She thought she would be scared. She thought she couldn't. But As soon as she put her feet on the cold, damp cobbles and faced the narrow streets and small houses labyrinth, parted with all the complexes she had carried on her shoulders since the day her mother disguised the virtue into defect. She felt confidence and spirits and curiosity and happiness. She came her head out shyly into every open door of the little shops of the stone houses. She almost wanted to enter, and would have done it if she hadn't heard voices, or steps, or people. At a trainer's and t-shirt shop, she stopped at the window. There wasn't too much. A pair of blue trainers and a purse decorated with lots of labels. She showed her face like before. Didn't listen any noise, trusting. I wasn't leaving. I was just checking a strange-colored t-shirt, trying to avoid the little aromatic candles that subtly lighted the shop to let the sunlight show me the right color. It seems lilac. Talking to the owner. Does it? I asked Clara. Clara got shocked, as she didn't expect to be seen, or she had surprised I dared talk to her. She went a step backwards, getting ready to run away, I guess. "What are you doing here?" she shouted in low voice. "No, what are you doing here?" Victor answered in low too, in a patronizing way. Now Clara remembered the feeling of facing the stone streets for the first time and decided that the labyrinth of my betrayal deserved the same courage.